Hi everyone, in this video we will discuss file handling in Python. Here we will discuss all these three data files, text file, binary file and CSV file, and how to work with these files in Python. Then we will discuss some of the programs with the solution. Now the content of the video is like this. We will discuss these three types of files, text file, binary file and CSV file, and how to do different basic file operations like reading, writing and appending, searching, updating, all these things. On these three types of files, how to use pickle module and how to use CSV module to handle binary file and CSV file and all those. In between, we will work out some of the programs also, and also we'll work out some of the programs at the end of this video. Then apart from that, you can also refer to other videos which are given, the links are given in the description box where the programs which are given at the end of the chapter, those are like solved. You can go through that. So I think this much is enough for your exam preparation point of view. So now let's proceed. Now let's begin with the introduction part. As you know, what is a file? Basically, it's a collection of information stored on some storage device. So files can be of different types. It can be document file, database file, or executable file, audio, video, media file, all these things. So if you want to handle a file through program, then you can also do it. Almost all programming languages give that facility to handle files through the program. Even Python also allows so, but every programming language has its own rules and regulations. So here we will learn how to create and handle files through Python program. And we will deal with only these three types of data files, that is text files, binary files and CSV files. Now first of all, let's begin with how to handle text file in Python. So before that, let's have some brief idea about what is a text file. Text file basically stores information in ASCII or Unicode form. This is a normal human readable form. And in text file, each line is terminated by a special character that is called new line character or carriage return, which is also called EOL or end of line. Now opening and closing a file. So how to open and close a file? As you know already, you can open a file by using open method. So once you open a file object is created. So what is a file object? It is a reference to the file which you want to open or create. Now this is the way how a file object is created. It is created by using an open method. You can see here f is equal to open. Within that one file name is given in a form of string. Then another string, another character r is given in a form of string. So here f refers to the file object. File object is created with this open method. And message.txt, as you know, is the name of the file that you have to pass in a form of a string. And also you have to pass the full path of the file name if the file is not present in your current working directory. Now the next thing that you have to pass in open method, that is the file access mode. Whether you want to open a file in read mode or write mode or append mode, there are different modes are there. So you have to provide the mode. Since here is given R, that means the file is open for reading only, read mode. So F is the file object. So now onwards, whatever operations will be done with this file, that has to be performed through this file object. Okay, now finally, after doing all the operations, you have to close the file. That is also done like this, f.close. Close is the method which will close the opened file. Now let us discuss all the file access or opening modes of text files. You know all this already. As you know, if the opening mode is R, that means the file will be opened in reading mode. But for that, the file should exist. So there should be a file with that a particular name that has to be present in your system. And the pointer will point to the beginning of the file once the file is opened in read mode. The next opening mode is W. Here the file will be open for writing, and if the file does not exist, then it will create a new file. And if a file with the same name already exists, then it will overwrite all the existing data which is present in that file. And file pointer will be at the beginning of the file for writing. Now append mode is the mode in which your file will be opened for writing. That means the data will be added or written at the end of the existing file. Okay, so the pointer will point to the end of the existing file. And if the file does not exist, then it will create a new file. Then R plus is a mode in which both reading and writing can be possible. In that case also the file should exist and file pointer will point to the beginning of the file. And in W plus mode also the file will be opened for writing and reading both, and it will create a new file if the file is not present. Otherwise, if the file exists, then the existing data will be overwritten and file pointer will be pointing at the beginning of the file. Similarly, another mode is there A plus, in which the file will be open for writing and reading both, and here the data will be appended at the end of the existing file. And it will also create a new file if the file does not exist, and file pointer will point to the end of the existing file. So these are the different opening modes. Depending on your requirement, you can open a file in any of the modes. Now we'll discuss some of the functions by using which you can read a file. So there are different methods which are used to read a file. So we should first of all discuss all these methods before going to the practical implementation. Then the first method is the read method, which will be called with respect to the file object f. So f.read will read the entire file and it will return in the form of the string. The content of the file will be returned in the form of a string. And if within the read function will pass a value n, then it will read n number of characters from the file. And this will also be returned in the form of a string. Similarly, another function is the read line. Read line function will read one line from the file and it will return that line in the form of a string. Another function is the read line, within that you can pass n. So it will read n number of characters from a line and it will return those characters in the form of a string. And another function is the read lines, which will read all the lines and it will return them in a form of a list. And here each list item is one line of text. Now we'll see how these functions work. Now this is a piece of code. Here you can see we have opened a file message.txt in read mode. Make sure there is a file message.txt should present in your current working directory having some data in it. So here I have opened this file message.txt which already exists in my system, and I have used read function f.read. So as you know, read function will read the entire content of the file and it will return a form of a string. So we are storing it in a variable s. Now let's print it and let's see what is the content of this file. Then after printing, you can close the file by using the close function. So once you run this program, you can see this is the output. This is the content of this file message.txt, which is read and it is stored in a variable, in a string variable s, and it is printing the content of s. So this is how read function works. Now we will see how this read line function works. So same file I will open in read mode and I will use the function read line and will store in a variable L. Now let's print L and see what it is printing. It is printing only the first line of the file. You can see here. Now we will see how this read lines function is working. So I have opened the same file in read mode and here I am using read lines function. As you know, it will return the content, all the lines it will read, and it will return a form of a list, and I have stored it in a variable ls. Now once I print it, you can see you will get the output like this. The entire content is displayed like this. First line will be the first item of the list. The second line is the second item of the list. Okay, like this, the output will be displayed. Now we'll see how to write data into a file. So for that, there are two methods. One is write method, another one is write lines method. Okay, so the same both the methods are used to write some text into a file. Only thing is that write function will take a string type of parameter and write lines will take a list type of parameter. Same thing, whatever string you will pass within the write function, that will be written into the file referenced by the file object f, and write lines function will take a list type of parameter and it will write that particular list into the file. Okay, now let's see. Now see this program. Here a file fruit.txt is opened in write mode and there is a string called s having some value apple, comma, orange, comma, pear, and that string I want to write into the file fruit.txt, so I can just call the write function by passing this string into it, f.write. Then after that, you can close this and you can see the output is like this. So file fruit.txt will be created with the following content. This is the content. The same thing can be done by this program also. You can open a file fruit.txt and let's say the data is in a form of list. Then you can just use write lines function to pass the list so that it will be written. And remember one thing, in a write lines function will not write the data in different lines. If you want to do that, then you have to insert new line character by calling write function within that. Otherwise, it will be written in the same line. Okay, but only difference between write function and write lines is that write function will take a string type of parameter, and here you can part in write lines can pass a list type of parameter. That's the difference. Okay, now if you want to append some data into a file, then you have to open a file in append mode. Let's say here I'm opening fruit.txt in append mode, and there is one more string s which you want to add or which you want to write into this file. So you can just call the write function by passing this string. Then after that, you can see the content of fruit.txt is like this. You can see once you open a file in append mode, then your pointer will point to the last position of the existing file. So the last position was just after the peer. And the next thing which you are written, this banana, mango, strawberry, that string is just appended in that position. Okay. So if you want the new data to be appended in the next line, then you have to use the next line. You have to append a next line character before the string, or else you can just use another write statement. Write function can call, and within that you can pass the next line character so that the new strings will appear in the next line. Okay. Now, Python provides a very simple way of opening a file by using with statement. So if you use with statement, then you can see the syntax is like this. With open, you have to pass the file name and the mode. Then as if is the file object. So this is the syntax how you can open a file by using with statement. Then after opening, whatever function, whatever operations you want to do, you can just do it after that. Then just remember you have to give a colon after the file object. Then after that you have to write the operations that you want to do after giving one indentation. So once this code is executed, then automatically the file will be closed. You don't have to close the file exclusively if you have opened it by using with statement. So this is a very easy and convenient way to open a file by using with statement. Now we have completed how to open a file, how to read it, and how to write into a file. Now we'll just do this program so that everything will be more clear. So this program is to create a new file, file1.txt, and write 3 lines of text accepted by user. Now read and display the content of the file. Then again append one more line of text and read and display it. So this is the question. So you can see, first of all, you have to create file1.txt. This a new file has to be created and we have to write 3 lines into it. So it has to be opened in write mode. So you can see file1.txt it is opened. Here I have opened this file by using with open statement. You can see this will make your code very less because you don't have to close the file object exclusively, and you can just, it will be easy for you. So the code is like this: with open file1.txt is opened in write mode as if. Here if is the file object. Now we have to enter 3 lines of text into the file, and the lines will be entered by the user. So we'll take a for loop. Here for I will range till 3, that means I will have values 0, 1, 2. So it will iterate 3 times. And every time it will ask the user to enter a line of text which will be stored in a variable s. Now this s will be written into the file f.write. Within that you have to pass s, and here I want all the lines should appear in different lines. So I have just appended one next line or new line character after the string. That's it. So after that, that means your file is written, and since at the end of this code, then end of this block, your file will be automatically closed. You don't have to close it exclusively. Then after that, I want to read the file content and I want to display it. So I have to open a file in read mode. So again, I've used this with open file name, and here the mode is read and the file object is f. So within that block, I have just opened the file in read mode, and I have used the read function to read the file, and the content is stored in a variable s. Now I can print the content of the file is print s. So the file content will be displayed. Okay. Now you can see the, once you run the program, you can see the output right side. We'll discuss that. Then again, the next part of the question is that you have to again append one more line into the file. So you have to open the file again in append mode. You can see with open file1.txt is open in append mode as f. Now here it will ask the user to enter another line of text which will be stored in a variable s, and that will be again written into the file. So f.write s. Then after that, again you have to open a file in read mode to see the updated file. So with open file1.txt, now it is open in read mode as f. Now f.read function is called and the content of the file is stored in a variable s. Now if you want to print, you can see the content by using the print statement. So once you run the program, it will ask the user to enter a line of text and will ask to enter 3 times. So user has to pass 3 text like this. Suppose the 3 lines are like this: speak good, see good, and do good. Then the content of the file, you can see it is showing speak good, see good, and do good. There are the 3 lines of text. Now again, we are opening the file in append mode, and this time we are asking the user to enter one more line. Suppose the user enters the line as be good, then that line will be appended into the file, and now your content of this file becomes speak good, see good, do good, and be good. These are the 4 lines. Now one more program is like this: write a program to write EMP number, that is employee number, and name entered by user for 3 employees in a file employee.dat. Then read the file and display the content. So here you can see the program is like this. First of all, you have to create a new file employee.dat for writing. So it has to be opened in write mode. Okay. Now it will ask the user to enter the employee ID and employee name for 3 employees. So using a for loop which will range till 3, that means I will iterate for the values 0, 1, and 2. So 3 values will be accepted by the user, and employee ID will be stored in S1 and employee name will be stored in S2. Then the value employee ID and name will be written into the file by using write function. So f.write, within that S1 is the employee ID plus S2. Within that you can just pass a space if you want the ID and name should be separated by a space. Then append with the next line so that the next employee record will appear in the next line. So after that you can close the file. Now again open the file in read mode and read the file by using read function and print the content. So once you run the program, you can see it will ask the user to enter the employee ID. First of all, let's say it is 001 and the name is like this, Satya Prakash. And next again it will ask the user to enter another employee ID. Like this, it will ask for 3 times. So after that, it will read the file and the content of the file is like this. It will be printed. You can see 001 Satya Prakash, 002 Raghunath, like this. The name, ID and names will be printed. Now write a program to create a nested list having EMP number and name of 3 employees. Write it into a file employee.dat where each employee details will be written in different lines. Then read the file and display the content. So here you can see we have to provide the employee details of 3 employees in a form of a nested list. You can see the list is like this. L is equal to like the 001 Satya Prakash, that is the employee detail of one employee that is kept within one list. Then the second employee ID and name will be in another list like this, and everything is kept within one list. So this is kind of a list of lists, or you can see a nested list. Now we will put this data into the file employee.dat, which has to be opened in write mode. And see, now we want each record should appear in each line. That means each nested list has to appear in one line. So we can just use a for loop which will iterate through all the items of the list. So for item in L, f.write lines, within that you can just pass the item. So here you have to use write lines function. Why? Because each item is in a form of a list, not in a form of string. So you can use f.write lines. Within that you can pass item, so that in a first iteration, the first item in the list, that is the first employee record, will be written into the file. Then after that you can just call again write function. Here you can pass next line or the new line character within the write function, so that one new line character will be entered. So the next item will be printed in the next line. Like this, so for loop will continue. After the completion of the for loop, you can close the file. Now you can open a file in read mode. Now let's read the content and see the output. See, once you run the program, you can see the content of the file is like this. Here, all the employee names and employee IDs and names are written in different lines. Now we'll know what is the seek function and tell function. There are two functions which can be used for random access within a file. As you know already, when a file is opened in read mode, then your pointer will be at the beginning of the file and the content of the file will be read. And once it is opened, your pointer will be also at the beginning of the file, and the new text will be written into the file. And once a file will be opened in append mode, then your pointer will be pointing to the end of the file. So apart from that, if you want to move your pointer to any other position or location in the file, then you can use this seek function. So seek function will change the position of the file pointer to a specific position in a file. Now from that particular position, your further reading or writing operation can take place. For example, if you use f.seek, within that you can pass 10. So your pointer will move to the 10th byte or 10th character, 10th position, you can say. Similarly, seek function has got different variations. You can use seek with values like 10, 0. In that case, here your next parameter, the second parameter, refers to the position of the file. 0 means beginning of the file, 1 means current position, then 2 means the end of the file or the last position. Okay. So if you write a seek within that 10, 0, that means it will move 10 bytes from the beginning. If you write 10, 1, that means it will move 10 bytes from the current position of the file, wherever your file pointer currently in the file, from there it will move 10 bytes. Then minus 10, 2 means it will move back 10 bytes from the last position. So this is how you can use seek function. And again, if you just pass 0, then it will move to the beginning of the file. Then similarly, one more function is tell. Tell function will return the current position of the file pointer, where exactly your pointer is right now. It will give you that position and it will return the value. So if you just write I is equal to f dot tell, so it will tell you the current position of the pointer and the position will be stored in a variable I. Okay. For example, if your current position is at the 10th byte, then I will have value 10. Okay. Now, if a file is opened in read or write mode, then your file will be pointer will be pointing at the 0th byte. And in append mode, it will be pointing to the last byte. Now we'll see how this seek function and tell functions are working. So we'll open this file employee.dat in read mode. Just consider this employee.dat file which we have created earlier in the previous program having the records of 3 employees. Now we will move the file pointer to 10th position or 10th byte by using seek function. Now by using tell function, we will see where is the current position of your file pointer. So I will give you the current position of the file pointer that can print. Then after that, you are reading the file. So the reading will take place from 10th byte onwards. So that means the first 9 characters will not be read. So once you just run the program, you can get the output like this. Now the pointer is at 10 position. Then the reading is taking place from 10th byte onwards. So the previous characters are not printed, you can see. Now we'll continue with how to handle a binary file. So as you know, a binary file is a raw file basically. The data in a binary file is not in a form which is readable by human. So this is a computer readable format of data. So if you open a binary file, you can just see some data or the content of the file which is not readable by the human, but it is directly interpreted by the computer. So this can be any video file, audio file, or graphic file, or executable file. These are all the binary files. So these are very much faster. That's the reason why you are using a binary file, and it also occupies very less space. Okay. So input output operation is very fast by using binary data because it is directly interpreted by the computer, so no translation is required. So that's the reason. And also there is no end of line character in a binary file. So now we will see how to create and how to deal with this binary files. Now there are different file access or opening modes for binary files are there. You can see just as a text file, you can open it in the same modes, but only thing is that you have to use one more character, that is B. So RB for reading, WB for writing. Here B signifies that the reading and writing operation are taking place through byte stream. So this is not a normal text file, this is a binary file. So the operations will be taking place like that. So that is why you have to specify the character B along with R and W. Otherwise, the same thing, if you just write RB, then file will be open for in reading mode and the pointer will pointing at the beginning of the file. But WB is a mode in which the file will be opened for writing, and AB is also for appending and so on. Now we'll discuss how to do writing and reading operations in a binary file. So first thing that you have to do is to import the pickle module. That is the first thing. This module provides the functionalities to read and write the binary file. Okay. Then the next thing is that if you want to write some data into the binary file, then you have to write in a form of a data object. That data object can be a list, can be a dictionary like this. Okay, so you have to write it into the file by using a dump function. So pickle.dump, within that you have to provide two parameters. First is the data object which has to be written, and the file object which to which the file refers. So this data object will be written into this particular file. Now, if you want to read the content of a binary file, then first of all, we cannot read it directly because this is not in a human readable form. So you have to use a load function. So within the load function, you have to put the file object name as its parameter. This file object refers to the binary file which you want to read, and it will return the object that is present in the file, that is written in this file. Okay, now that you can just store it in a variable, let's say object, then you can just read the object. So this is how your writing and reading operations of binary file is taking place. Now we'll see how it is done actually in program. Now write a program to create a nested list having employee number and name of 3 employees. Now write it into a binary file employee, then read the file and display each employee record in different line. So first of all, we have to create a data object which is a nested list, and where we will keep the record of the employees. Each list item will be one employee's record, that is its number and name. Okay. So first of all, we will open a file in write mode because the file has to be opened in binary mode for writing. So the name of the file is employee and the mode is WB that you have to pass within the open function. Remember, the first statement has to be the import statement where you have to import the pickle module. Then you have to open the file in write mode. Then this is the list you have to create which you have to put into the file. This is the list object basically. This is a nested list, and where each list item refers to each record, each employee record having his employee number and name as its 2 columns. Okay, so here we have put 3 employee records. Now we have to write this data into the file by using dump function. So within the dump function, we have to pass the list object L, and we have to give the second parameter as the file object F. So list object L will be written into the file which is referred by the file object F. Now close the file. Now we have to read the content of the binary file. So for that you have to open the binary file, and this time it has to be opened in read mode. So you have to give the access mode as RB. Now we have to use the load function to load the content of the file. And here in the load function you have to pass the file object. You have to use pickle.load function by passing the file object. Now the returned value is stored in a variable ls. ls is the data object which is present in this binary file. Now we have to read all the items. As you know, this is a list object we have already stored in this file. So we have to read it in line by line. So each item in the nested list has to be printed in a line. So you can just use a for loop. For item in ls, it has to print the item. That means each list item will be printed in one line, and each list item refers to one record which is present in this binary file. Okay. Now write a program to search for an employee record having EMP number 003 in a pickled file employee and display it. So what we will do, we will read the pickle file employee and we'll search whether it's having any employee number 003. If it is so, then it has to display that record. So for that, first of all, you have to import the pickle module, then open the pickled file in read mode. Here the pickle file name is employee, it has to be opened in read mode. Then you have to use the load function to load the content of the pickled file. And within that you have to pass the file object, and the returned value is stored in a variable ls. So here ls is your data object, which is nothing but the nested list which is storing the information about the employees. Now we will iterate through all the items present in this list. So for item in ls, if item of 0 equal to 003, as you know, item of 0 is the employee number and item of 1 is employee name. There are 2 fields for each record. So if the first field is 003 for any of the records, then it has to print that particular record. So print that particular item of the list. then close. So once you run the program, you'll get the output. So it has searched the particular employee whose number is 003, then it has displayed that record. Okay. Now write a program to create a pickled file student for a student dictionary. The dictionary is like this: students having roll number, name and mark. Now define a method update marks, which will take a roll number as its argument and updates the marks of that roll number to 95. Then read the binary file and display its content. Okay, so here what we will do, we will just create one dictionary having one record. We will not put multiple values or multiple records. We'll just put one record and we will search from that whether that particular roll number is there or not. And if it is there, we'll update the mark. So in the last part of this video, we will do some programs where we will take a loop and we will have multiple values for this dictionary. Those will be taken by the user. We'll do that program later on. Now just focus on this simple program. Now first of all, just import the pickle module and then take a dictionary student is having three keys: roll number, name and marks, and is having corresponding values like this. Now we will just put this student dictionary into the pickle file student. So you have to open a file named student and you have to open it in write mode. And here I have used with open statement. So you can write like this: with open, the file name, opening mode as if. If is the file object. Now you can use the dump method to write this data into the file. So pickle.dump. Within that you have to put the data object is student that has to be written into the file which is referred by the file object f. Now we have to define a method update underscore marks. So def update underscore marks, this is one user defined function which is taking r as an argument. R will specify the roll number. Now we will open this pickled file because we have to search for a particular roll number. So we have to open this pickled file in read mode. Then we have to read the data by using load function. The data will be loaded and let's say it is stored in a data object data. Now we will search in data whether that particular roll number is there or not. So if data of roll number equal to R, it will check the roll number key. If the roll number key is having R value, then you can say data of marks is equal to 95. Then the marks key will be assigned with the value 95. Okay, now this updated dictionary will be stored or will be written into this pickle file student. So again we have to open this file in write mode. Then we have to use the dump function to store this updated data into this file. So your updated dictionary is stored in a variable data. So data has to be written within this file. So here your function definition ends. Then you have to call the function. Now the function is called update underscore marks and here we have provided the roll number as S23. Now we'll see whether this roll number, this marks is updated or not. So for that we have to again open the file in read mode. Then we'll read the content and display it. So it is loaded in a variable S. Then we will print S to see whether marks has been updated or not. Yes, you can see the output. Now the marks has been updated to 95. So here we have taken a single record in a single dictionary. So this is the simple one I have explained. Later on, we will discuss how to take multiple dictionary values in a binary file and how to search for a record. Now we'll continue with handling CSV files. As you know, CSV files are the comma separated values file. These files are basically used to store the tabular data where like each line is a record, or that means each row is a record, and each record consists of multiple fields and the field values are separated by commas. Comma is called is a delimiter. Comma is the most commonly used delimiter or the default delimiter for CSV files. Apart from that, you can also use any other delimiter also. So why to study CSV files? Because these are very much useful for handling large or unstructured data. and you can just arrange the data in proper systematic form. And the most important thing is that it can be easily imported on a spreadsheet or database. That means you can transfer it from one application to another application. And this is very easy to manage, and these are small in size also, and first to process or transfer. And it can be easily edited also. So we will now learn how to handle CSV file in Python program. Now, let's begin with how to read a CSV file. Now, the first thing you have to do is to import the CSV module. So, CSV module has to be imported to read or write a CSV file, because this module will provide you the functionalities to read and write the CSV files. Now, you have to open the file just like you're opening any text file. You have to just use the open function. Within that, you have to pass the file, and it has to be opened in read or write or append mode. So here this is an example where a file student.csv is opened, but make sure this file should be present in your system, and this file should be like a CSV file. That means the data should be written in a tabular form. Tabular form means each line should be a record, and each record will be like comma separated values. Okay. Now, to read the CSV file, we need something called CSV reader object. CSV reader object will help you to read the file line by line. So this file object has to be created by using csv.reader function. Within that, you have to pass the file object for which the data has to be read, and it will return the CSV reader object, and you have to store it in a variable. And here I have stored it in a variable, let's say CR. CR refers to the CSV reader object. That is equal to csv.reader. Within that, you have to pass the file object f. Okay. So to read all the rows in the CSV file, you can use the CR object through a loop. Okay, so just have to use a loop so that it will be the data will be read record by record or line by line. You can just read the data. So for row in CR, you can write print row. So like this, you have to just put it in a loop so that your CSV reader object, which is an iterable object, that will give access to each line of the CSV file. Okay. Now consider this is a file student.csv. You can see this. The file is like this. You can just create a file in your notepad also. And there is no such here, like it's normal text file only. Only thing is that your record has to be separated by using comma. So you can see the content of the student.csv file is like this: role, comma, name, comma, subject, comma, mark. Here the first line indicates the header, or you can say the column names. And within that, I have just put two record values: roll number 11, name, subject and mark, and roll number 12, having some name, subject and mark. So there are two records and one column header. So this is the content of student.csv file, and I want to read this file. So I have to just write this code. You can see, first of all, you have to import the CSV module. Then you have to open this file in read mode. Okay, now you have to create the CSV reader object. So here CR is equal to csv.reader. Within that, you have to pass the file object f. Now you want to read row by row or line by line. So you have to use a for loop. For row in CR, you have to print a row. Then close it. Then once you run the program, you'll get the output like this. So it has printed all the rows of the CSV file. You can see here every row is appearing like a list form. Every record is in a form of a list, and it has displayed all the records. Now write a program to search for a record in a file student.csv and display it whose name is Raghav. So just now we have just accessed your student.csv file. You just saw the content of this one. Now we will just read the file. Again, open the file in read mode and create the CSV reader object and store it in a variable CR. Now for row in CR, if row of 1 equal to Raghav, You can see each record is having 4 field values, and the first field, that is roll number, which is present at index number 0. Next field is name, which is at index number 1, and next field is subject, which is at index number 2, and mark is at index number 3. And here we have to search for a name, so we will check if row of 1, which is at index number 1, equal to Raghav or not. If it is Raghav, then it has to print the entire row. Now if you just run the program, you will get the output like this. It will give you the record whose name is Raghav. Now writing into a CSV file. How to write data into the CSV file? First of all, you have to open the CSV file in writing mode, so that a new CSV file will be created and it will be opened for writing. Okay, now the next thing is that you have to create a CSV writer object. CSV writer object will help you to write the records into the file. So that means the data has to be written with reference with the help of this writer object. So how to create this CSV writer object? It is done by the function csv.writer, and this function will take some parameters. The first one is the file object and the second one is the delimiter. That means what separator you want to give. You have to specify. If you give comma, then the field values will be separated by comma. If you give any other symbol, any other character, then it will be like separated by that character. If you don't give anything, then the default delimiter is comma. Okay, after creation of this writer object, let's say I have stored it in a variable CW. CW refers to CSV writer. Now we can write the records in two ways, by either by using write row function or by using write rows function. So write row function is used to write a record which is in a form of list into the file. You can just write one record or one line through write row. And you don't need to add any new line character to indicate end of line. It will be done automatically once one row is entered. Then another method that you can use, that is write rows. This write rows method will write multiple records. So to write multiple records, you have to give the data in a form of nested list. So those will be written into the file in one go. So, and each item of the list will appear in each line as one record. Okay. So through this function, you can write multiple records into a CSV file. So now let's see how to do this. Now see this program. Here we have used both the write row and write rows functions to write into the CSV file. So first of all, we have to open a CSV file in write mode. You have to create a file. Let's say it is staff.csv and it is opened in write mode. And here I have given one more parameter, that is new line is equal to one empty string that you have to pass within the open method. Why? Because if you are opening a file for writing, what happens if you are writing multiple rows? So after writing one row or after writing one line, it automatically inserts a blank line or blank row in between two rows. So to avoid that, you can just use this parameter so that the empty rows will not appear between two rows. So you can just check it without giving this parameter how your output is coming, and with giving this parameter how your output is coming, you can just try by yourself. Now you have to create the CSV writer object. Let's say csv.writer. Within that, you have to pass the file object as its parameter, and you can specify the delimiter as comma. And the CSV writer object is stored in a variable CW. Okay, this much is done. Now what data has to be written? So here I have created one list. Let's say head. It's having name head, which is storing the column names of this data file. The column names are staff ID, name and designation. This is stored in a list called head. Now there is one nested list called records. Here I have stored the record of some 3 staffs, and each list item refers to the staff description. First one is the staff ID, next is the name, and next is the designation. For 3 three different staffs I have kept within a nested list. Okay. Now I'll use write row function, and within that I have passed the head, which is a list. So that will be written into this file, into the staff.csv file. That is the first row of this file. Now the next one is cw.write rows. Within that I have passed this nested list. Okay, this nested list will be written where each list item will be written on one line. Each list item is nothing but one record. So after writing this, you can just close. Now after that, you just open this file staff.csv. Then you can see the content of staff.csv will be like this. Staff ID name designation, which is there in the list head, that is written first. Then the other list, that the nested list that I have passed in the write rows function, that is printed like this, that is written like this, where each list item is written in one line. Okay. Now we'll discuss some of the questions. These are all just fill in the blanks type of questions. You can see the files in Python are interpreted as a stream of dash stored on some storage media. So the answers will be given. You just try by yourself. To read all the file contents of text file and return in the form of list, dash method may be used. And to force Python to write the contents of file buffer and to storage file, dash method may be used. And that method of pickle file is used to write an object into a binary file. Then every record in a CSV file is stored in reader object in the form of a dash. And dash method of Python tells us the current position within the file. And dash module is used to work with binary file in Python. Then RB access mode refers to dash file. Then opening a file using dash does not require the file to be closed explicitly. In dash method of a file object flushes any unwritten information and closes the file object. So these are the questions. These are basic and easy questions, and you can just try them out. And the answers are also given. You can just check. Now we'll discuss some of the questions, some of the programs. Now consider a file student.csv having some student records. Write a program to append one more student record for the fields role, name, subject, and mark, taking values from user. Then read and display the content of the file. Okay, that means student.csv file is already present, so we have to just add one more record into the file. So first of all, we have to open this file in append mode. But before that, remember, don't forget to import CSV module. That's the first thing. Then you have to open the file in append mode, and here also I have given this new line parameter. As you know, this will avoid like inserting empty rows in between the records. Then here I have used with open statement. Then within that block, I have created the CSV writer object and stored it in CW. Then after that, I have to take the values from the user, that is roll number, name, and subject, and I've stored it in variable role, name, subject, and mark. Okay. Now we have to write it in a row or as a record into this file. So you can use cw.write row. Within that, you just pass roll number, name, subject, and mark in a list. Okay, so this list will be added or appended in the file. Now print. Now the file content is, now suppose if you want to see the content of the file, then you have to open this file in read mode. Here also I have used with open statement to read the file, and after that you can just create a CSV reader object which is stored in the variable CR. Now you have to read line by line, so you can use a for loop. For row in CR, you have to print the row. So once you run the program, it will ask you to enter the roll number, name, subject, and marks. Suppose these are the values that those are entered. Then that value will be appended into the file student.csv. Then now the content of this file student.csv is like this. Now consider the file student.csv of the previous program that you had done earlier, which is having this four columns: roll number, name, subject, and mark. Now define a method display column which takes a column name as argument and displays the content of that column. Okay, here we don't want record value, we want the column value for all the records. So that particular column you have to take as argument. So first of all, import the CSV module and define the function, let's say display underscore column. Within that, you have to take a variable call which refers to the column which you want to display. Now open the file in read mode and create the CSV reader object. Now read it like this: for row in CR, if column equal to roll number, roll, then it has to print row of 0. That means it has to print all the values which are present at index number 0. Index number 0, roll number is present, so it will display all the roll number values. Else, if the column equal to name, then it has to print all the values which is present at index number 1 of the row, which is the name value. And if column is equal to subject, then it has to print the values which are present at index number 2 of the record. Then if the column is equal to mark, then it has to print that is present at the index number 3 of the record. Now we are calling the function display underscore column. Here we have passed the column name as name. So it will display all the values which is present at the column name. So those particular values are printed. Now the next program is to create a binary file emp.dat containing records of following type. Here emp is equal to emp number, name, and age in a list. Write a function display record that will read the content of the file emp.dat and display the details of those employees whose age is more than 40. So here you can see, first of all, you have to import pickle module because here we are handling a binary file. Now we have to create the data on the list object, that is emp, in a form of a nested list, and in this nested list, each nested list item is a employee record having the values emp number, name, and age. So here there are 4 items in this nested list and each item is having 3 values. Okay, now we have to open the file in write mode. So open emp.dat with opening mode is WP, and we have to use the dump function to write this list object into the file. So pickle.dump emp is the data object which has to be stored in a file referred by file object f. After that, close that one, f.close. Now we have to define a function display underscore record. So display underscore record is defined like this. Within the function, the file has to be opened in write mode. Okay, file has to be opened in read mode. Then after that, the data has to be loaded by using load function, and it is stored in a variable data. Now we will search for each row in data. So each row refers to each nested list. Okay. So for row in data, if row of 2 is greater than 40, then it has to print that particular row. So row of 2 means the index number 2. So here at index number 2, the value is age. Okay. So it will check whose age is more than 40. It has to print that particular row. That means the entire record of that particular employee has to be printed. Now let's call this function display underscore record. Now once you call the function, then you'll get the output like this. This is showing these 2 employee records whose age is more than 40. Now create a binary file marks.dat containing dictionary data as follows. The dictionary is marks and having keys roll, name, and marks. And take the record values from user for 3 records. Okay. Now write a function display record that will read the content of the file marks.dat and display all the records. So we'll first of all import the pickle module. Now we'll open the file marks.dat in WP mode because we want to open this file in write mode. Now we have to enter 3 records. So we will take a loop for I in range 3. So this will iterate 3 times. So within that, it will create a dictionary marks, which is empty initially. Now it will take the values roll number, name, and mark from the user and store in variable r, n, and m respectively. Now we will assign marks roll is equal to r. Roll number is the key for the dictionary marks and its value is r. And similarly, name is the key of marks dictionary and its value is n. And for mark key, the value is m. So now your marks dictionary is ready with the values, and that dictionary will be stored or written or dumped into the pickle file marks.dat by using dump function. Pickle.dump, then marks is the data object, dictionary object, and it is written into the file referenced by file object f. So this is the first iteration. So first record is written. Now like this loop will iterate for 3 times. So the next 2 records will also be written into this file. That means dump function will be called 3 times and it will write 3 records into it. Now after that we will close this file object. Now we have to read the content of the file and display all the records. Now let's proceed. Now let's define a method display underscore records. Within this method, the file is opened in read mode because we have to read the file and display the records. Then within that, we have to read all the records. So for that, load function has to be called. But here, if you just call the load function one time, then it will just read the first record and it will print that one. So we have to call the load function multiple times. So for that purpose, like until all the records have been read, so we have to call it in a loop. Let's say while loop. So while loop will continue by giving the condition as true. So while true, it will continue reading the data. The first load function will be called and the first record is stored in a variable data. But the file has, the loop has to terminate also. So the termination condition is like you have to give break statement when EOF error exception is thrown. So what is EOF error? This is a kind of exception which is thrown when end of file is reached. That means no more data to be read. So it will, when the pointer will come to the end of the file and it will not find any data to be read, then it will just throw this particular error. Okay, so whenever this error is thrown, that particular time the loop will break. So to catch this exception, so that means we have to keep it within a try blocks to handle this particular exception which is thrown by the code. Otherwise, it will give you error while running the program. So once you run the program, you can see finally you have to call the display records function. So when this function is called, you can run the program and it will ask the user to enter the roll number, let's say 1, then the name and marks will be given by the user. Then again it will ask for another roll number, name and mark like this because we want 3 records. Our loop will iterate 3 times, so it will ask for 3 records. And after that, the records will be written into the file. Then we have called the display underscore records function. This will read the file and display the data. I can see here we have read the data in a loop, so it will read all the records one by one. Will read all the 3 records. So this is how we can store a dictionary object in a binary file and we can access it. We can read it. Now consider a binary file marks.dat which is containing a dictionary data as follows. Marks is having the keys roll, name and mark. And now define a function search underscore record which will take a roll number as its parameter and it will display the record of that particular roll number. Now we'll do this. First of all, import the pickle module. And within that we have defined a search underscore record. function. So this function is taking one roll number as its parameter, so that is R, let's say. Now within that we have opened this file marks.dat in a read mode. Just make sure this file is already present. Now we have to search for a particular roll number and it has to display that particular record. Okay, so we will read all the records and we will store all the records in a list. So for that purpose we have created one list having named data underscore list, which is initially empty. Now we will read the content by using load function. So as I told you earlier in a previous program, we have to call the load function in a while loop and within the try block. Why? Because we have to read all the records one by one. So once the load function is called, the first record is read and that particular record is appended into the list that we have created. That is data underscore list dot append. Within that, data is passed. Data is the returned record or the returned value of the load function, which is nothing but a record of the file. So like this, all the records will be loaded and appended into the data list. So by the end of the loop, once the loop will get over, then your data list will be ready with all the records that are present in this file. Now close this file. Now we will check what is there in your data list. So we will check for row in data list. That means we will check all the records in the data list. If row of roll number equal to R, that means the roll number key of the record is same as the value which is passed in our function, that is R, then it has to print that particular row or that particular record. Okay. Now we will call the function. Search underscore record is now called with the value 2 or the roll number 2. So once you call this one, it will show you the output like this. So it will show you that particular record whose roll number is 2. Now consider the binary file marks.dat containing dictionary data as follows. Same data marks with the key values roll name and marks. Now define a function update underscore record having a roll number as parameter and update the marks of that particular roll number to 96. Then display all the records. Now we have to first of all import the pickle module. Then after that we have to define this function update underscore record. So what we will do actually, we will first read the pickle file, that is marks.dat, and whatever data is there we will store it in a list, let's say data underscore list. Then after that we will search for this particular roll number which is passed as argument, and we will update the marks of that particular roll number to 96. Then after that we will just write this updated data object into the file. Okay, this is what we have to do. Then first of all we will open the file in read mode and we will read all the records and it will store in a variable data underscore list, just we did in a previous program. Within a while loop we will just call the load function. So all the records will be loaded and appended with the list data underscore list. Then after that close the file. Now all the data which is present in that binary file is now stored in data underscore list. Now we will check all the records of this list. So for row in data underscore list, if row of roll number is equal to R, that means if the roll number column is having value R, then for that particular row, update the mark value to 96. So row of mark equal to 96. They are assigning the value 96 to the mark key of that particular row. Okay. Now after that, again we will open this file in write mode and we will write this updated data object. So open this file in write mode. Here I have opened by using with open. Then after that, by using dump function, Then just write this updated data, which is there in data underscore list, into this file object. Then after that, this function definition is over. Now we'll call the function update underscore record, and here I have passed the roll number as 2. Now the next thing is to display all the records. That we'll do in the next part. Let's see. Now in a previous part, we have called the function update function to update the mark of one particular roll number. Now we will open this file and we will read whether this value is updated or not. We'll just see. So for that, we'll open the file in read mode. Then we will call the load function within the while loop, and we will print the data and it will display all the records. So once you run the program, you'll get the output like this. It is displaying all the records that is there in the dictionary object, and see the output is in a form of a list where each list item is a dictionary. So here we have updated the mark to 96, whose roll number was 2. So here you can see the roll number 2 student has marks updated as 96. So this is how you can just read and write into a binary file. Now here ends the chapter file handling. Here we have discussed all this reading and writing operations of text file, binary file, and CSV files. And we have discussed some of the programs also. If there is any doubt or any program you couldn't understand, then you can just put it in comment section, and stay tuned for more such videos. Thank you.